Welcome to Small Group Session D. Hopefully you enjoyed the morning sessions and have a good idea about various ways that we can use Google Forms to collect information. We've got one more type of question that's a little more complicated that we're going to deal with this afternoon. And that's what's commonly talked about as a rating scale type of question, where we might take several items and rate them on a scale from 1 to 5, or several items rated from poor to great, or from very satisfied to very dissatisfied, where we're comparing numerous items against the same scale. Now, it's very important to remember that in Google Forms, the terminology for this type of question is a grid question. So we're going to start with our favorite button here, Add Item, and when we hit the drop down under the Advanced column, we're going to choose the grid type of question. Once again, we start off with very familiar boxes here, question title. So we're up to question number 7, and we're going to ask our folks to please indicate your feeling about each item below. Nice and simple. We could make use of that help text, that note section if we wanted, and we're on a grid. Now, it's also very important to remember the difference between rows and columns. When this presents visually, rows go across the screen from left to right, columns go up and down. So typical convention for this type of a question, we're usually going to put our actual rating scale as the column labels or the column headings. So for our example, let's deal with a scale, and I tend to fill in the columns first so we know how we're going to evaluate. So we'll have great as a category, good, and if you notice, as I keep clicking in these boxes, it keeps giving me the ability to add more columns. So let's put OK as column 3. We'll do a 5 category scale here. So we'll go to fair, and we'll go to poor. So those are the ratings that we're going to put some items on. So let's figure out what items we'd like to ask people to rate their feelings about. These will go in our rows. So starting with the first row, how about if we rate today's weather? Let's also see how people feel about yesterday's lunch as it compares to today's lunch. And to make sure that we've truly covered all the bases, how about if we see how people feel about the color blue? So far we've got our 4 things that we're going to rate on this scale from poor to great. We have again the option to slide the order around, both in the columns and in the rows. Now, once we have all of this information in there, and we click Done, we'll see a familiar looking rating scale. And when we view the live form, to double check what it's going to look like when someone goes to take this assessment or fill out this survey, here we have those choices where for each row, only one box can be selected. So today's weather can be rated only once, unlike a checkbox where you could rate things multiple times. Today's lunch moves independently from yesterday's lunch. Hopefully, today's lunch was great for you, and we'll see how everyone feels about the color blue. Now, the interesting application for this type of question, if you project this out to perhaps grading projects based on a rubric. So your different rubric scores could be explained here at the top, and the different items that you want to score a student's work on might appear in the rows. So you can create this form and fill it out, including the student's name, and immediately you can have your data in there in order to calculate a final grade.